Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Miguel. I want to talk to you today about how demons hide behind trauma and dissociated parts. Now, you may be a deliverance minister and you're watching this and you're saying, "What is this guy talking about?" Let me explain something to you on how important it is to understand how dissociation and trauma play a big part in deliverance ministry. We I spent the whole week with Dr. Bob Larson this week, and most of our cases were related to trauma and dissociated part. People that haven't really dealt with their trauma, and I'm talking about like molestations and horrible things that happen to you as a child or even as an adult. But most of the time, you're most affected when you're a child because you don't understand what's happening to you when somebody's molesting you or doing something horrible to you. As a child, maybe your father beat you, or maybe you were emotionally abused physically, and your mind just cannot comprehend how could somebody that you love do these things to you. And oftentimes, it's not even your parents. It could be a neighbor who did something to you, or maybe it was, a cousin. Very, very common. Cousins doing things to other cousins, and this usually is an older person doing it to a younger person. But it could be as an adult too. You could be raped, and that could traumatize you. And what happens is your mind, in order to deal with that trauma, with that pain, your mind will split. So you have your normal you, who you regular are, but at times that part of your mind that suffers from trauma, has that deep pain deep inside of it, would come forward, and it will manifest in your life. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it today because I wrote a blog about it today. So I want to talk about how demons hide behind this trauma and dissociated part. So behind the pain and the dissociated part is where the demon lies. The demon lies behind that pain. And so in order for the person to receive total freedom from demons, uh, this part has to be healed and the demons has to be dealt with, because the demon is not going to be on the normal part of you. It's not going to be on your who you are all the time. The demon's hiding behind that part that suffer from that deep pain. And so, we most of the cases we dealt with today, not today, sorry, this past week, were people who were suffering from trauma, and they went through a whole bunch of deliverance ministers and could not get set free because the demons are hiding behind this associated parts, and they just couldn't receive freedom. Now we ministered to people from all over the U.S. I mean, we're in Maryland, but they were flying from all over the U.S. to get the help they needed because they were desperate. Because unfortunately, deliverance ministers are not trained appropriately. And what we have is people going to deliverance ministers trying to get free, and then they're seeing these dissociated parts, or what we call alter personalities or alter egos, and they're manifesting. They're talking like a person, and these deliverance ministers are thinking that these things are in fact demons. And so you could traumatize a part by calling it a demon, right, when it's not a demon. So I think deliverance ministers need to understand that they need to receive training on dissociation, and they need to receive training on how to deal with this parts that are traumatized, so that they could help the person receive the healing and they could get rid of the demons. Okay, so in the realm of the deliverance ministry, one of the most complex challenges is understanding how demons can hide behind trauma and dissociated parts of a person's soul. Trauma can cause the human soul to fragment. So what is the soul? It's the mind, the will, and the emotions of a person, creating a dissociated part that can become vulnerable to demonic influence. And I'm talking about the blog. So the blog says, in this blog, we would explore how demons exploit trauma, how they use dissociated parts to maintain their hold on individuals, and how the power of Jesus Christ can bring true healing and freedom. So understanding trauma and dissociation trauma is deeply distressing or disturbing experience that overwhelms an individual's ability to cope. So I already talked about that, right? The ability of the person not being able to handle the trauma, or the offense that's been done against them. And as a result, their mind splits. Their mind split. And so when they are they feel similar challenges, that dissociated part, that part that's in the subconscious mind, will come forward and will manifest. And sometimes when we're doing deliverance ministries, this parts will come forward because they're under stress. And so this part will come forward, and then we could ask, we could deal with that part. That part could receive healing, and then we could get to the demons who's hiding behind that dissociated part. And I know this is a complex subject, so I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so how do you know if you're dissociated? Okay, so usually there's trauma associated with it. You may not remember what happened to you. So you may have memory gaps or blackouts, meaning that there's parts of your life that you just can't remember, especially if you were, as a child. You may not even remember. You may remember something like, I saw my father in bed with me and then he touched me, but then I blacked out. Or somebody started hitting me and I blacked out. I don't know what happened to me afterwards. So you may not even, some people don't even remember their whole childhood, because there's so much trauma involved. Now there's various forms of trauma. There's mild trauma and there's major trauma, where you'll have an all different person inside of you. Okay. Another sign of dissociation is feeling disconnected from one's body. They may feel like you're isolated. A lot of these people may feel like, for example, that God doesn't love them. So they isolate themselves from God. They may feel that they're not loved by other people, and they don't even love themselves. And so, they may feel disconnected. Some people feel like maybe, a part of their soul is missing, right? A part of their soul, their mind is missing, and they can't. They want to get that part back, right? Because they can't remember certain things. Another thing is, you can have sudden personality changes where you're talking to somebody and something says something, and suddenly you become angry and mad, and that could be a sign of dissociation. And most likely it is. Uh, Another sign is like they may feel like they may confuse demons with a dissociated part. Always remember, if there's major trauma, more than likely you have demons. But sometimes what happens is that dissociated part will manifest, and people would actually confuse it with a demon. And so, the person themselves say, this thing takes over me. It starts acting different, and I can't really control it, because usually it's not a demon. If you're a born again Christian, demons cannot demon possess you. Okay, they could demonize certain parts of you, but they cannot possess you totally. So usually, when you have something like this, when you feel like something's taking control of you and acting, I talk about stories of, a woman going to church. She goes to church, and then the pastor kicks her out. She doesn't understand why she's being kicked out, and it's because she's dressing provocative in church, and she kicks out. So we're able to deal with that part, right? With that part of her that was doing that. She received healing because she suffered trauma as a child, and then we got to the demons and got the demons out, and that was the end of that. Okay, so demons exploit trauma. That's what they exploit the trauma. They're opportunistic entities. Okay, so they look for a way, to enter a person, and unhealed trauma is a big target. Okay, so trauma that hasn't been dealt with could be a big problem. Okay, so way demons hide behind trauma. So this is some of the things that demons do in order to hide and to get people for not getting therapy, or getting ministry. They masquerade as helpers of the dissociated part. So they could be telling the dissociated part, that other part of you in your subconscious mind, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to harm you. She did this to you, and they're talking about the main core part, the person who the person regularly is, right? The dissociated part with that demon could be working together to torment who you are all the time. And the reason for that is because maybe they felt like the dissociated part maybe felt like you allow the abuse and you deserve to be punished for it. And guess what? The demon's telling them they deserve to be punished because of what they allow, themselves to get into, the trouble they got themselves in. Maybe you got raped, right? And they said, man, maybe she was dressed provocative and she caused that to happen. She deserves to be punished, so we have to punish her. So this is the demon talking to the dissociated part. Number two is reinforcing lies that the person believes about themselves. Maybe the person says you're a loser. The dissociated part believes they're a loser. Maybe the dissociated part believes that they're no good. And then those dissociated part with the demons will talk to your core part and make you feel like, man, I'm not gonna get anywhere. I'm just a failure. I'm just a failure. All right, and you start believing that. You start believing that. Okay. So another thing they do is they cause trauma to maintain control. So if they want to keep you in control, they will cause situations with other people and other circumstances to cause similar trauma to what happened to you as a child, to keep you in control and to manipulate you and to keep themselves pretty much in charge of what's happening in your life. You made bad decisions. You have made bad decisions because you had demons that are working with dissociated parts that are placing you in situations where trauma could occur again. Okay. Uh, so that's the same thing as triggering the individual to relieve painful memories. The person could see something in TV, or they could see something, an injustice or something, or somebody getting abused or something like that in TV or in the news, and it will bring those memories back to make you feel that feeling of disgust and shame and guilt that most people who are dissociated feel. Okay, so identifying demonic influence in dissociated parts discernment is key to identifying when the demons are hiding behind the trauma and dissociated parts. During deliverance, the following signs may indicate that you have a demon. Now, keep in mind the dissociated part and the trauma has to be dealt with. Okay, they have to receive healing before you could go ahead and cast the demon out. And the reason why you can't cast the demon out is because you haven't dealt with the trauma. You haven't dealt with the part of the person that has that deep pain inside of them, and that person needs to receive the healing in order to be free. Okay, so demons may become violent or hostile during prayer, sudden personality changes during ministry, strong resistance to forgiveness or healing, and then unexplained voices or behaviors. Okay, these are just manifestations of demons. So, how do you receive deliverance and healing for these parts of you who are in pain? First of all, the deliverance minister has to have discernment, the ability to tell the difference between a demon and the dissociated part, because sometimes you can't tell them apart. There's certain questions a deliverance minister that's experienced could ask, right? Ask and do in order to identify the difference between a demon and a human part of a person. Okay, so there's different things you could do. The other thing is you have to renounce the lies that the demons have told you. So the dissociated part needs to come into understanding with you that the demon has lied. The demon has said lies, so the core personality needs to believe this. The person core personality is who you are usually. The dissociated part, the author personality, needs to believe that the demons are telling them lies, and so that's part of the healing. Okay, minister needs to obviously do inner healing and command the demons to leave. It's the last step. The last step is commanding the demons to leave. Once that author personality has been dealt with, has been dealt with, right? Has received inner healing, has come into the healing of Christ, because Jesus Christ is the only one who could heal this, right? Then the demon has nowhere to hide anymore, and he could be cast out. And a lot of people have been suffering for years and years and years, get free, because they've gone through one or maybe 10, 15 deliverance ministers. They can't get free, and they give up because they feel like there's no hope for me. When in reality, the reason is the deliverance minister has not been properly trained. And so people are suffering all around the world because the deliverance minister does not understand these things. And unfortunately, it's very common, and it's sad to see how many people are suffering because they suffered trauma as a child or even as an adult, and the deliverance minister is simply dealing with demons and not dealing with the what we call alter personalities, alter egos, or dissociated part, DID, things like that. Okay, so I hope this video was a blessing to you. If it was, consider making a donation to our ministry. You could go to www.pastormiguel.com. That is www.pastormiguel.com, and make a donation to our ministry so we could continue doing the work we do, teaching people how to do these things, because we have a deliverance ministry school where we help people understand these things. And I mean, if you decide to do, that's your problem, right? That's up to you to decide whether you want to do that or not. But we have options to help you right? Not only get set free, but if you want to learn how these things work, we have the opportunity to teach that as well. However, if you want to just help our ministry, you could go to our website, www.pastormiguel.com, and then you could go on the donations and make the best donation you can so we can continue to do this work. I know this was a very probably complex video, but I hope it was a blessing to you. I hope you could look it over and over again to learn these things, and apply it to your life so you will be set free in the name of Jesus Christ. Okay? God bless you. Read Isaiah 61, verse 1 and 2. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.